Good morning, everyone. I'm Charissa Sims, live event host for Humanities Team, a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040. And I'm coming to you live from Lafayette, Colorado. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. And this live session for Humanities Team is for you. So you can go ahead and put in where you're connecting from in the chat, in Facebook, in YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Today, we'll be introducing Actualize Earth, the app for a conscious movement with Juicy Life. And we're excited to announce the launch of this revolutionary application. We'll delve into the purpose of the app, and you'll have an opportunity to become part of the Actualize community. So this event is definitely for you. If you have a question in Zoom, we have a lot of people who are Humanity Team members already. You can raise your hand and you may have an opportunity to come on screen. So I want to welcome Juicy Life and Actualize's audience streaming live through Facebook. Also, Humanity Stream Plus members that are here. Thanks for being members and thanks for being on camera. Yes, great. And also, I wanted to welcome the Sign Network members. If you're watching our live event, we have it also on the Humanity Team website, Facebook Live, and also YouTube channel. So welcome, everyone. Because it's a live program, try to get your question in within the first 30 to 40 minutes of the program. And feel free to post in the chat, and you may get your question answered by Juicy. So even if you're on Facebook, YouTube, we're checking all of the social media. So we'll get to your questions. So let me share a little bit about our guest today. Juicy is an artist who recognizes that in every moment, in every breath, he is both creating and destroying. He works to inspire others of their inner artists to be conscious creators in the world. He is both a large-scale app developer and a leader of developing local social networks to support the evolution of consciousness. Utilizing his background in chemical and biomolecular engineering, evolutionary biology, and programming, along with his experiences with authentic relating practices, psychedelics, and intentional community practices, he synthesizes wisdom across multiple fields to crystallize knowledge that is in the right relationship to life. His programming work has been used in live events like the New York Marathon. That touches me. I've ran many marathons, and the Ironman. I've also done that running series. So I know about those events and what it takes. Man, the programming, I can only imagine. It has been localized to 8 different languages and used in every country around the world by over 10 million people. He is also, we are so blessed to have him as the lead tech on Humanities Team, revamping, yay, revamping and upgrading our systems to support the vision of conscious living being pervasive by 2040. And we also want to put up the website for the app. Maybe our tech team, Jim or Garth, can help us with that, actualize.earth. Welcome, Juicy.
Krista, welcome. Humanities Team, welcome. Hello, world. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here on this prestigious, this live event with Humanities Team. Been in the field for a while and have had the opportunity to see so many amazing, prolific visionaries and leaders in this movement come on to Humanities Team for this greater purpose, mission, and vision. And it's an honor to be here contributing to that.
Well, we're honored to have you, Juicy. And it's been great getting to know you, being part of Humanities Team for the past 6 months. So I was just curious, what inspired you in your journey to create Actualize, this app? Because it's a phone app, right? It's not online, not on the web.
It is just a phone app right now. However, in the next month, we plan on having a website available as well. what inspired me, I can only, try to keep this as brief as possible. But from what I've noticed, being in Boulder for about 10 years, a lot of people, they find their passion based on the hero's journey of going into the dark and into the shadow. And to me, a big part of that was being 12 years old and, not going into too much story and, but for a short period thinking about suicide. And then a 10-year after that depression, that really, for me, what my, hero's journey, a big theme of it has been, not being in connection, being alone, which is something that a lot of people I think deal with. But it's not their biggest thing in their hero's journey. And so for me, being alone for what felt to be like a decade or so, was a big catalyst because I had an awakening experience where it's like, I don't want to be alone anymore. I don't want to not have a partner. And I didn't even have the word for it at the time, but I want community. I just felt like I wasn't where I wanted to be in terms of connection. And so that's what inspired me to start down this journey of doing the self-development work. And then I realized as I was doing the programming work that I could use these skills to support better connection in the world. And so that's, the thing that's been driving me the longest time, and my inspiration in terms of a quote is that there are 1,000 hacking at the branches of evil to one chopping at the root. And I saw a lot of issues in the world, growing up and going through college and being like, what does the world, have in store for me? Like, how can I contribute? What's going on? And oh my gosh, it seems like there's so many things out of kilter and balance. Where do I focus? And I mean, it started with myself and doing my own personal journey and development work. And that's what's inspired me in doing this local social network work is, for me, I have to learn and be a part of it first and foremost, not coming from some like avert observer outside view saying if people just did it this way, it would work. It's more of like, I got to live it first and foremost, understand, what tools are even needed, what tools people need. And so that's what's, Actualize is the fourth iteration of a conscious social network that I've built since 2014. And so I've learned a lot in that journey. And, what I've seen is the events is a big thing that brings people together. And so Actualize is primary focus around local and online events that have a specific purpose, which is around actualization, which is about people being in their highest purpose, learning how to be in their highest purpose. And so I can share more about that as we dive into Actualize, but that's more of like my own hero's journey story as to what has driven me and what my purpose and what my fire and my passion has been about in all of this. Along with, I just also have to say, like going through that experience of, thinking about suicide as a kid, 12 years old, there's a quality in me that's an aspect of me that's like, well, if I were 12 years old and I felt like I had community around me, that likely wouldn't have happened. And so
Mm.
there's a quality in me that's like wanting to protect, I want to say, the children by creating and fostering healthy communities that they are growing up in. The expression that it takes a community to raise a child, I think is something that has been more prevalent in our past, but as we've grown more isolated in our own little like houses and worlds and cars, separation, whatever, perceived separation, that has gotten in the way of the community raising the kid, which we all bring different codes to support the growth of our children.
Yes, amazing. And that really touched me too, because I'm a mom. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. And I'm so glad that you lived and you're here because look at how passionate you are with your mission. And as a preteen myself, I had suicidal thoughts and even attempted suicide. So I've been there and I know. And I'm so happy to be here too. And it's so wonderful that you used your history to drive what you're doing today. So, can you share a little bit about the application?
Yeah. So I can give a short little, 1 to 2 minute about it. And then we have a little demo that we can share as well, just so that, it's easier when people actually see it in action. So again, I've built a lot of tools over time, and what drives me is evolutionary biology and really about using technology and right relationship like it is the central nervous system of the planet. And it's part of our evolutionary imperative to learn how to integrate it and use it in right relationship to support the harmonious living of a whole being, this earth that we're a part of. And so for me, that entails many different tools. And that's how I've seen it for years. But one of the things that I'm learning is about how to effectively communicate that and onboard people. And what a lot of people have told me over the time is like, well, how do you, like, what's the one thing that your product does? Which I've had some level of aversion to. But what I'm realizing and what I've seen in like these three different applications that I've built is every single time the most used thing is the events. We used it in the intentional community that I was a part of. We used it to organize events here in Boulder on my second application and my third application. And, it's been really alive. In the third application, we have had 4 to 6 events happening every single day locally in Boulder, Colorado. Everything from ecstatic dance to men's groups to women's groups to authentic relating circles to cacao ceremonies to a number of different sound baths, a number of different things to support people and living more connected and more spiritually. And so the orientation that I have going forward in this fourth application, Actualize, is around bring people together around events. And that's, whether you're traveling, so it's geolocation based. So you can say, hey, I'm in Florida or I'm in Tulum or I'm in, Hawaii, and being able to immediately just say, oh, what are the events the conscious events that are happening here? Because short aside from my work in intentional communities, I learned that the agreement field is like the most important thing in a community of what brings it together and why. And so the agreement field that we're setting up with Actualize, because most times people don't remember lists more than 3. Especially that's what I've learned in like the community agreements, which oftentimes are like 14, 15 things long. People just kind of forget about it. And so trying to keep it really simple for people. And the number one agreement that everything else falls from is, I am here to actualize. I'm here to become the highest expression of myself. And so through that lens, that's going to inform the types of events that come to the platform. And I don't have, any specific like attachment to that. I want people to be in their freedom and their creativity and their evolutionary impulse. But that can be anything from potlucks to like, play dates for kids, which a number of people have been connected through the platform, at the children's ecstatic dances that happen, which have been really amazing to hear from people of the connection that it can bring. And so really looking to expand both the diversity of the types of events that we're hosting on the platform for personal and professional development, as well as relaxation and enjoyment and training and workshops, to also diversifying in location. We were just launched here in Boulder, and we're now starting to launch more broadly across the country, world even, if you want to put it that way. I'm not trying to like, bring it out too quick, but yeah, so the primary focus is around events, and that can be anything from online workshops and trainings to live videos like this, to the in-person events like cacao ceremony or, the solstice event or whatever it might be.
Yeah, amazing. And what's so interesting is that I have used the iteration of your app before Actualize with a partner where I did live events in Boulder, and it worked. I mean, we would consistently get at least 3 people from the app. So advertising in your app really worked for us for our live events. And I was so grateful that they were a part of it and were part of the community. But I never actually joined myself. It was just the person that I was teaching with. So it's amazing the trust that you've already built within Boulder, that people, it's the go-to here, really, in Boulder. Don't you think, Juicy, for events?
That's what I've heard. And, a couple things on that is, I've heard a number of people who have come to visit Boulder, who aren't, tapped into the community here yet. But somebody's like, hey, check out the One Boulder app. That was the third iteration. And they're like, wow, thank you. I feel like I'm immediately tapped into the community and the types of events that I want to go to. So it's been pretty powerful in that way. And also, we have like 3,800 people who have signed up in Boulder, and all of that has been through word of mouth. That's just
Mm.
from people who are using it, who are feeling inspired, like it's providing value for them and they want to share it with other people. So that's all been going really, really well.
Yeah.
Um,
That's some
and
great traction and great success you have in the background, of launching the Actualize app.
yeah, it's a strong foundation to build on.
Hmm.
And there's been a number of people who have contributed to it along the way, and doing the best I can to you know, because there's been many iterations, and sometimes there's heartbreak when something doesn't work, and you got to walk away from it, and you got to deal with the ramifications. Business partners and other people have contributed, and I think that's being transparent. That's kind of a part of where the process is right now, and I also feel like that's part of the building capacity for being able to lead and manage and bring people together for a common purpose. Um, and honoring and listening to where people are at and doing the best that I can as a leader, as a developer, as a community person to be respectful of the time and energy that other people have put in and contribute, have reciprocity as best as possible, like a balance of giving and receiving as best as possible. um, I've done the whole bleeding heart thing for quite a while, and it just depletes me, and I don't want to invite anybody else into that kind of space.
Yes, I understand. And thank you for the comment, Carol, from the green room here. She said, all a learning process and experience. So thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. When did you launch the app?
Yeah, so I'm a magician, so for me, it's not actually launched. Something doesn't have action unless it's spoken, and so we sent out emails to the people who are on the previous platforms, One Boulder, and the previous version before that was called Nectar. And we sent out emails on Sunday, and then Sunday night is the Boulder Ecstatic Dance, which has been one of the biggest supporters here in the Boulder area. So I went to that event and announced it at that event on Sunday, which was, I guess, 3 days ago. And yeah, we're just, it's available in the iOS and Android stores. And we're just starting to launch in more areas. So Boulder, we have, whatever it is, like 4 to 6 events happening every single day, but not everybody who's going to be downloading this app is in Boulder. And so there's a huge initiative that we have right now in bringing online events. And so that's also one of the ways of working together with Humanities Team and the greater community that Humanities Team is connected to, because I see so much great online content being brought forward. And I also think it's really important to seed a platform with high quality content that sets an energetic foundation. And so that's also one of my desires here in connecting to the greater Humanities Team community and the affiliates and partners that we're all working with this common vision that has been brought forward from Humanities Team of conscious living being pervasive by 2040. And we all have our each unique parts in that. And as Barbara would say, we're all part, the unique self symphony. And a big part of that is recognizing what your piece is in the play and working together in, endosymbiotically, within for the purpose of the larger whole, right? Relationship with the larger whole to work together from what I see, Actualize Earth is about awakening planetary consciousness. It's about becoming aware that we are part of the larger whole. And so that's, what I see being represented in Humanities Team, way better than I do in any of these other online organizations or teaching educational TV, transformational educational content. The really beautiful aspect of Humanities Team is the deeper purpose, which is bringing everybody together to work together for the common interests of the whole. And so that's what I keep showing up for, and why I found a home with Humanities Team.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And do you feel there's some connection with the Humanities Team Stream Plus members and Actualize? Could there be a way, because I know a lot of the Humanities Team Stream Plus members have been asking, how do we get connected with each other? How do we stay connected? Could this be a way to do that?
It could possibly long term, absolutely. Events are going to be one way that people
Mhm.
in the humanities stream plus community could
Mhm.
come together. Absolutely. Uh, Big focus around this is, supporting the online events, which is again where they could come together. But a big thrust of this is around the localization. And so what I see is the humanities team members being able to both connect online, but also being able to connect more in their local communities and
Yeah.
help spread this. That I think that's really like the biggest thing. It's to speak it in as mild a term as possible, but the echo chamber is real. And we experience it everywhere, and we can put ourselves where we want to be, where it feels good. And I feel like the growth edge is like, well, okay, well, how do you have that conversation about consciousness with somebody who has been working a 9 to 5 job for 40 hours a week and come home and is your neighbor, but they're so tired that they don't really have a lot of capacity. And I feel like that's part of this work of lovingly meeting people with where they're at and having some of these a little bit more edgy or difficult conversations. Which just to say, I feel like, with the internet, a lot of people feel more comfortable like writing online because they feel a level of like distance from what's happening. But I'm a deep supporter of the evolution and the work that comes from being in person and being in the real time connection with somebody, to feel more of what's happening, to be in connection with more of what's happening. And again, just online, I see so many conversations that get spun out just because, you can't hear somebody's intonation or, on what they're saying. And so it kind of creates some like, oh, but you said it this way and it impacted me this way. Misunderstanding that if it was just a conversation in person wouldn't have likely happened. So I'm all about like the whole thing with this Actualize is about technology and right relationship. It's about everything in right relationship, but absolutely we need to bring technology into right relationship. And so it's about fostering those online conversations, absolutely, and connections that make you like recognize that you're part of something larger than yourself. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the middle of Wyoming or the middle of Nebraska, that you can feel part of the larger family. And then also the being connected with your local family, the people that are around you, and being the way seer, the way shower, to bring that knowledge and wisdom to others in a loving way. So that's what I really want to see, because it's about the spreading and the growth of consciousness. And online tools are going to be amazing for that, but I don't think it's going to be any replacement for what needs to happen, which is the on the ground development of human relationships and feeling like we're part of that larger family by being in connection with us. So that's what the right relationship with technology and community, how I see that. It was a little bit of a windy part from your question of how can it serve the humanities team plus
Yeah.
members, but yeah, I think
Yeah, I was just curious. I was curious about that because I see that need and excitement when we're all in the green room together and connecting and talking and sharing about our businesses. And it's just wonderful. So that's great. And I do have a question from the audience. Guranam says, I'm pretty well connected with many conscious groups in West Palm Beach, Florida. How do you go about getting this app known?
Great question. So we're working on a affiliate onboarding system. We already have an affiliate onboarding system, but it's more of like a welcome packet for, hey, somebody in an area or somebody in your area and you want to get it launched. Here are some of the things that you need that would be supportive for you to know. And also here's some like marketing terms and like phrases that you can put out. That's something that we are certainly wanting to do. And to that end, I would love for you to reach out, and you can find our contact on the Actualize.Earth website, and would love to work with you to hone and refine that, and get that going, because it's all about those trusted third party connections. And as you start to scale and as you start to launch, having the right people in the right areas seed it is going to be pretty important. And so absolutely, however we can support. So in the meantime, when you download the app on an individual level, you can there's a link up in the top right that says share my affiliate code, and that invite people, and you can do that, and it'll share a link that has your unique identifiers so that people, when they get onboarded, they will be under your referral. So there's a nice referral system built in, and also there's a really cool thing in the app itself in terms of gamification, just to mention really quickly. And there's a number of different ways that you can create these, what we call as actualized tokens. They're like, you go to a shop and you get a burrito and they have a little card that's like you get 10 punches and you get a free burrito. It's kind of like that. And so there's a number of actions like referring somebody to the platform where you get like 44 actualized tokens. And there's a 10-to-1 conversion. So for every 10 actualized tokens, it's the equivalent of $1, like the 10-to-1 burrito thing. And then those dollars can be used for tickets for events, because we're also a ticketing platform. We're not just, hosting events. We also do some high-level ticketing services. And so when a producer comes on board, we ask them to also agree to accept up to 25% the cost of a ticket with these tokens. So there's incentivization for people who are, adding value to the network through either adding their skills or answering the community questions. Or, one of the ways that we generate points is for every dollar in ticket sales, you get a token. So as a facilitator, as an event producer, say you do $2,000 worth of ticket sales, that's the equivalent of you generating $200 additional of these tokens that you can hand out to people who might be volunteering for your event. And then it just creates a like in kind system of like, oh, I volunteered at this event. I got like an additional $50 worth of actualized tokens, and now I can go to another event. And so it just incentivizes more movement in the network and going to events.
Wow, that sounds exciting. So how is this different than Ticketmaster, Eventbrite, a lot of the event websites that are online and available now?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a few things that I would speak to here. One is the underlying energetic. Before I get into any of the grounded practical, but for me, there's an importance of, the consciousness behind it. I believe Ticketmaster is a publicly traded company, and probably so is Eventbrite at this point. So there's fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to try to make as much money as they possibly can. So there's some underlying business issues, that purpose-driven issues that I see. And so for me, it's like the shift from the extract, exploit, manipulative, power, control dynamic paradigm that we see in most modern culture to the empower, invites, support, equitable access, for the benefit of the whole orientation. So I think there's an underlying purpose there that I would first draw attention to. And then secondly, what I would say is, similarly to our process in evolution, right? So there's eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells. Eukaryotic and prokaryotic organisms, I'd rather say. And prokaryotes don't have a nucleus, and they're very simple, bacteria and viruses. Eukaryotes do. And one of the marks of evolutionary biology in that is endosymbiotic evolution. Endo is within, symbiosis is right relationship with the larger whole. And so what I see on the internet is a microcosm of the macrocosm. So there's a lot of applications out there that are like the bacteria that do simple things like ticketing. Hey, our site just does ticketing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we see like in something like Eventbrite. And the problem with that is that it's not integrated into a more cohesive system. And so, which is like the eukaryotic organism, where we have the mitochondria and the endoplasmic reticulum and other organelles that work together. And so, especially from what I see, and to be as concise as possible, and this is the social system, what we might see in something like Facebook, combined with an event system that also has ticketing and RSVP and commenting, and those two things have not really gelled all that well. Facebook
Yeah.
is the best example of this, and they don't even do ticketing on their site. And I have my own theories about that. It doesn't really matter. But what I think is really important is to deliver value to people through meaningful integration that ideally
Mm.
makes people's lives easier, and then supports them in living a more joyful and connected life, which is kind of the tagline of Actualize.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. I love that tagline. You're taking me back to my biology days in college. I was like racking my brain. Okay, I got to remember these terms. So I hope that wasn't too over everyone's head, but I love it. I love the analogy and it's wonderful. And I do understand now the difference. And it is really interesting that you can integrate the social media functions of like a Facebook and then the ticketing features of a Ticketmaster or Eventbrite and be a conscious business. So that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to play a demo of the app at this point. If Jim or Garth from our tech team, thank you so much, could play that couple minutes. We'd
Yeah.
love.
Hi there, my name is Juicy Life, and I'm here from Actualize to give you a really quick walkthrough of the Actualize app. So we're primarily focused around events, and we primarily like to support local events, but as we are growing locally, we also have online events as well as destination events. So as you can see, we're located here in Boulder, Colorado right now, and there are 3,000 people in this area who have created an account. And these are the events that are currently being hosted. So I can look at all of the events that are being hosted, and right now we're at somewhere between 3 to 8 events happening most days here in Colorado, in Boulder. And I can even sort it based on just show me the community events that are happening, local clubs and organizations. So an ability to kind of sort through and find different types of events, which gives you the ability of whether you're in Boulder or you're in Asheville, the same mechanism of sorting in these types of events so that you can find them. Especially if you're traveling, this is going to be a very useful tool. Also, like as you can see, a nice way to promote events, and there's ways for the event producers themselves to share about the events that they have coming up to drive traffic to them. And as I said, we have online events as well, similar type of category and organization structure. These events, as you can see, there's RSVPs. This also syncs to your local calendar on your phone, just so that it makes sure that it makes it to your calendar. And then we also have destinations. And so again, a nice little gathering, sorting mechanism where you can find and sort through all the different types of events that you might enjoy going to. Very quick, my calendar is, all the RSVPs that you have made. So it's a really quick way to find all the events that you're interested in. And as well as you can see different people and pages and venues that you're following and what type of events that they might have coming up. So that's the event section very quickly. I'll do more in-depth demo of the producer tools and ticketing and all of that in another video. We also have a thread section. So this is kind of locally what you have is a Craigslist or something, but way more modern, way more supportive of communication. So for example, if I go into the housing, I can see that there's a post here. There's 6 comments. I can go into that. And these are all the comments on the posts, and you can reply to comments on posts, and the person who gets replied to will get a notification saying that somebody replied to. So it's what you would expect from a high-level social networking messaging system, and keeps things a lot more organized. And I can always view all of my posts that I've made no matter where I'm at.
Website
And again,
and
this
check
is
out
also
the whole
localized, so I
demo,
can say Boulder, Colorado,
as
or
well
Asheville, North
as
Carolina,
like I
or
alluded to in that
wherever it might be.
video, there's more advanced tools for people who are producing events, and that includes being able to create tickets, being able to do ticket discounts. There's a whole dashboard where you can see when people are viewing your event page, when people are buying tickets, as well as some really advanced things that I don't see on other platforms. Like, let's say you have an event where you want to ask people a few questions and see their responses before you even give them the ability to purchase tickets. And so like that whole approval process, Really advanced ticketing system that's built in. It even sends QR codes in the emails, and there's a QR code reader in the app so that if you have a larger event, you can have people walk up with their QR code and scan them to check them in. So it's really advanced in that regard. I also just have to name like the first kind of iteration of like a ticketing platform that I did was for the Shamrock Shuffle, which is a 40,000 person 8K in Chicago, Illinois. And that was about 9 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe even 11 years ago. And so high scale, ticketing systems is something that I've been working on for quite a while. And so this is bringing it more to the grassroots local level and empowering the smaller organizations with similar type of technology that is used in these huge marathons. So, bringing the tools to the people.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you were alluding to, or maybe you said it directly, that if it's not in your city, you can help them, give them the tools and marketing to launch it in their city, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that we're looking to do on that is as it's, people can use the tool even if it's online, through online events, it's going to be useful for them anyway. But people are going to share what their current city is. And our vision is, well, once there's enough local events happening and there's enough people who are added as a producer, as somebody who can add to the calendar in an area, that will come out and personally support with a launch party. And so as we do that, it's kind of an opportunity for all the different event producers to come out and share a little taste of their type of event that they want to do, and really bring the community together and highlight the beautiful experiences available to us in the local communities that a lot of people might not even know existed. And I just want to mention that too. Like for me, there's a term filter bubbles on the internet, that things like Google and Facebook, because they're following you and kind of using the information, the feedback mechanism that they have access to track you and follow you about all the things you do. They try to promote to you the things that they think that you're going to like based on what they've seen you and followed you and liking. So there's some quality of like what, you can't show somebody something that they didn't even know existed. That's why they call it a filter bubble. And so the event category selector is really important here, because I see that as helping to expose people to a lot of different things that they might not have known exist. And a great example of this, it's kind of weird to say this truthfully, but when I first moved to Boulder, Colorado, I was in the kitchen and somebody started throwing the food scraps in a pail, and I'm just like, what's going on over there? And, something as simple as composting, I just didn't even know existed. And I was like 25, 24 years old. I'm like, come on. And so same thing, how many healing modalities that I've heard of, like, I mean, even Reiki, that took a while to even like come up in my field. But as I've like learned a lot about different, types of modalities of healing, now I'm like, wow, there's all these things. And a lot of people just don't know about them. And so there's a huge quality about this, about exposing people to things that they didn't even know existed, which to me also, promotes the people who are doing, Reiki or, cranial sacral work or whatever it is, to be supported in their offerings. The more art is core in my philosophy and being. And to me, like to put it at a high level, the real work is, to me, it's inspiring people to recognize that they are an artist and everything they do in every moment. And, there is no not creating, and there is no not destroying. That's why in my intro, I'm like, in every breath, I am both creating and destroying. And I think the more that we recognize that, the more conscious we can become of what we are creating and what we are destroying. And the more beautiful the world becomes, especially when we are enamored by art and the beauty that we can create, and supporting others in their art and the beauty that they want to create.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What a wonderful mission that you have. And I do have another question from the chat. How does the app go about driving traffic? So how do you get users to get people to use it?
Yeah, so I would say it this way. Right now, through all three applications that I've built so far, we have not spent a dollar on marketing. It's been entirely organic growth. Now, to me, that's foundational and elemental. And there's about building the actual trust network of people in this. And to that end, while I see that as foundational in Actualize, I'm also we're going to start opening up and doing, for example, like in a few months when we have much higher quality content and like video animations and things like that in place, to do a crowdfunding campaign that is more broad in its reach. But in the meantime, it's about leveraging the already established networks and connections that exist, and trusted third-party connections, and that's potentially through some of the facilitators and humanities team, as well as many of the different event producers that I'm connected with in places like Asheville and Miami and Hawaii and Austin, Texas, and a number of these kind of like cultural hub places that have kind of already naturally emerged. And so then there's like how do you scale it? What are the next areas? And so there's some strategy around the network growth aspect. Yeah. That answer the question?
I thought it did. I thought it was great. You could put in the chat, Guranam, if you would like a follow-up question. Well, I was wondering, she said yes. Okay, thank you for answering. I was wondering if you already answered this, but can you share about your innovative funding model, how it's being funded? Is that through the token that you were discussing?
So difference, the actualized token is an in-app token for like-kind exchanges. I'm sure some people here might know, but the whole crypto industry, I'm not working in crypto. I use crypto in right relationship, but this is not a primarily crypto-backed project. What you're talking about, the membership model, is based on the phi spiral. And the phi spiral, as we see in nature, and the more we can learn from nature, the better we can be in connection with it. The phi spiral is a natural growth pattern. We see it in ammonite and in the shells. We see it in the like cauliflower heads and in trees even. It's really amazing to see this pattern show up everywhere where there's a natural growth pattern. And so I kind of got that download because I saw so much like crypto stuff, speculative, like the whole speculative like crypto space, and even the stock market has felt a little bit weird to me, off to me. It is like a natural growth principle for a while. The invisible hand, I think, is kind of what it kind of says is going to guide things. But anyway, point being is, what this phi spiral model, how it works is it starts, distributing tokens like 1, 1, 2, 3, 5 based on the Fibonacci sequence. So it grows, and then each rung it goes up, the price of the membership goes up. So each of these tokens represent a membership in the platform. So this is a co-op. This aspect of it is a co-op, and each token represents a lifetime membership in the same way that you'd get like a $30 lifetime membership for REI as a co-op. The only difference is, as opposed to starting just saying it's $30, when the network's smaller, the price is lower, and when the network's larger, the price is higher. And those are fixed. And so, if you buy a bunch of tokens at $11, I think the first 40,000 are at $11, and then the next like 60,000 are $13. It goes up $2 on the next rung. That you can essentially buy them at 11 and then sell them at 13, and that's almost like a 20% profit. But that's also dependent on if the network continues to grow. So it's not a guaranteed return, but it's a return that you would know what your return is going to be, provided that the network continues to grow. So you're actually, what you'd be investing in or supporting, foundationally putting money into to support the development, that it is something that if you believe that it's going to continue to grow, then you're trusting that you're going to get your money more than what you put in back. And you'll know what that number is if you already make your choices when you put your money in and when you want to take it out. So that to me is really exciting. And also part of that too is for me, like my dad was a city manager. And so I've kind of had a high level civic orientation for quite a long time. And public utility has been something that is very strong in my heart. And so this is actually setting up a funding mechanism that isn't giving away equity, that isn't putting out in the future challenge of this turning into a public utility, something for the public good. And whether that's actually in collaboration with the United States government, I actually have no idea. I have no idea how that's going to turn out. I just know energetically what that means, and I'm setting up the best I can to vector it in that direction. And so that's all really exciting to me because in the end, like the vision of this is actualizing Earth, just in the same way that making conscious living pervasive by 2040. And when you say that, it's like, well, okay, there's like 8 billion people on the planet right now. Well, how do we equitably get access to all of those people? Because oftentimes, like the traditional tech platforms, their membership is like the thing, right? It's like, oh, it's $11 a membership. Well, $11 in US dollars is different than $11 Cambodian. And so one of the things I learned was that the top 10% of people who have wealth on the planet own 85% of the wealth, and the lower 90% only have 15% of the wealth. And so I'm this orientation of like, well, this is about equitable access for everybody. So the lifetime memberships, that we have some founders tokens that are initially distributed from people who have contributed in the last 10 years. Then there's for sale memberships, which is accounting for about 10% of the population of the planet. And then the last 90% of the tokens are at zero cost. So 90% of the planet would have free lifetime access to this platform. And that's the point. It's about making equitable access. And the people who have resources to contribute to it, and not expecting the people who don't have the resources to also contribute to it in that way. So yeah, and it's one of those things where we're actually live on this now, and you can go to our website actualize.earth, and when you click on create an account, you'll go through the process, and it'll say, would you like to buy some FI membership tokens? And you can put in a few dollars, 11 or 22, or if you really want to see this movement take off and support us and help having the resources to have the types of videos and marketing to really actually kind of hit this in a much larger way, you can put in more and more money. And that's what I'm really excited for, because I've been wanting to have, as an app developer, most people are like, oh, you just make money through subscriptions or selling the app or something. And it didn't feel like there was a good investment mechanism, and VC capital didn't feel right either, because it generally is associated with giving away equity. So I'm finally so excited to have what feels to be something that's resonant with the growth pattern of life, and is a reasonable financial ask for people, that has the strong potential for a reasonable return. That's not some like $5,000 crypto moonshot thing, but a grounded, hey, you might make 20% per year or something based on, having these types of tokens, depending on how the network continues to grow. So I'm really excited, because I have a lot of skills and resources and connections and social capital and things like that. And really the limiting factor for me at this point is just the resources to pull the team together and to activate this to, really the larger scale that it's, I'm feeling the evolutionary impulse of where it's wanting to go.
That's amazing. How did you launch this without outside funding? Did you build it yourself?
I did. And this has been like 10 years of work. The first application I built, called Group Up, that served the intentional community that I was living here in Boulder, was about 2,500 hours of my time, that I was working on the real-time race tracking for marathons and large running events. And I had time, I had somewhat level of resource, and I invested all of that into developing the code for that platform. Second platform had some resources in it. I had a co-founder who had some resources, and he paid me a little bit and gave me a place to stay, and moved the ball forward. And that also moved the code forward in a big way. And so did One Boulder. So, I'm using code from 10 years ago. And so I was able to put things together a lot quicker this time. And also, in total between these 4 platforms, I'm probably somewhere between like 6,000 to 7,000 hours and probably an hourly rate of like $5 to $10 an hour. And that's, me feeling the evolutionary impulse and following that. And also me now in this position, as I shared earlier, of not being in the, self-sacrificial. We didn't talk about it, but where my name Juicy comes from was to represent the juiciness and the abundance of life. And so to really live into that and lean into that and trust that all the resources that are needed are coming exactly when they're needed. And this is a time that they are needed. It's been 10 years. A friend of mine, a mentor actually, had just shared about the parable of bamboo. That bamboo, it's like you can water a bamboo seed for 3 years until it doesn't look like it's doing anything. And then finally, 3 years later, it sprouts up 40 feet in the span of a few months. And it just has taken that level of preparation for the bamboo to feel the resources to do that. And so I feel like I'm right at that bamboo shoot going up about 40 feet. And I certainly think that the platform of conscious living and conscious evolution and these types of conversations are needing to be put on those 40-foot 40-foot stilts to be seen more by people in the world in a more grounded and meaningful way.
Yes. And we do have another question from the audience. So they say it started to sound like network marketing, pyramid in a way, but then you said 90% would have it free, and that confused me because the app is free, correct, Juicy?
The app is free, correct. So this is membership to our co-op. And so co-ops have a number of different types of structures to them. One of them is around voting. And so I deeply believe that, the internet is like the central nervous system of the planet and gives us the ability to create feedback mechanisms, which aren't particularly done all that well in terms of our governance right now. We don't truly live in a democracy. It's a democratic republic. And I believe that while, I'd really love to see integrated voting systems in our democracy, first and foremost, I have to represent it in my company and what I'm standing for and the vision that I'm holding. So the co-op is an opportunity for when you have one of these tokens that you get to vote for different things that is happening in the organization, as well as a few different features that get unlocked because you're part of what is considered to be the commons. We're working for the common interest of the whole. And so there are a number of free features. The app is free. You can view anything that you want in the app. You can, view events. You can view all the threads and those types of things. There's a $10 per month subscription membership to being able to post event, or $11 per month subscription membership to posting event in the app. And then all you need is one FI membership token to post to our thread section. And it's a lifetime access. So you get $11 token and you get to post content in our thread section for forever. So those are just kind of the two little paywall and barriers, but there is a significant amount of what is provided for free. And then at that point, by the way, when we hit that funding level with this FI membership model, then at least the way that I'm seeing it right now, it's hard to predict the future of this type of thing, but I see that going away. The memberships and any type of paywall, because then everybody has access because they're part of the membership co-op. So it's really like I try to plan as much as possible and also have some level of like listening to how things are unfolding. And so I think subscriptions are going to be one of those things to determine in the future if they're even still needed. It's not about making the most money. It's about providing the value and service and ensuring that everybody who is contributing to this is equitably supported for their contributions. So again, that just goes back to the extractive exploitive conversation versus the empowering and service conversation, and kind of like the bigger picture of it being a public utility. But you got to get there. And so it takes resources and money to do so. And I think that's kind of the bridge between both worlds that I'm striving to walk with this structure.
I really love how you figured that out. That's amazing. The membership model, because it's not charging, like for example, Eventbrite will charge a service fee per ticket. And really it's only the membership, right? Where you pay into if you're an
Um,
event producer.
yeah, that's actually a great thought. We hadn't specifically linked those two things before. So like if you're checking out and purchasing a ticket right now, there is a platform fee. It is about what you would expect on something like Eventbrite.
Hmm.
And it's also entirely in the realm of possibility to say, hey, because you've purchased a membership, there are no platform fees.
Hmm.
I'm going to integrate that feedback, and that's part of the beauty of this is I see it as an evolving platform. I'm not saying I have all the ideas. I actually think this is kind of like it takes all of us to do. And I'm here
Hmm.
to represent and do the best I can to hear the input and the feedback from everybody and integrate it and move it forward in a cohesive way. And so that's a great idea that could very easily be integrated. And I'm also very keen on fleshing through all the possibilities of what that might mean before
Right.
just doing it. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Um,
That's great. Well, thank you. What have you learned with your experience in intentional communities?
oh boy. There's a lot there. I've been doing a lot of work in the international community realm.
We could do a
Um,
whole nother interview on that, right?
Yeah, I mean it's really fascinating. Like if you read something like Creating a Life Together, which is one of the best books and resources for intentional community building out there, you'll see, 10% of people who are trying to form intentional communities even get land. And of that 10% end up making it 5 years or more. So they're at like a 1% success rate. And so when you look at the examples of what has worked in an intentional community, and this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, was that they speak to the agreement field as being foundational, like why and what are you showing up for? And so that's where Actualize, like I said, I'm here to actualize as the primary agreement field. And then there's been so many things around conflict resolution or whatever term you want to put to it. I particularly like the term resonance restoration, just recognizing that, hey, we were in resonance, now we're not in resonance, and we're just finding that place back together. Um, those types of things that naturally come up in social communities. It's been really interesting having to manage that also as well. People like with internet applications, they're like, oh, people in the community moderating and that type of thing. It's true. And also, at events, there's sometimes people who are like, well, I don't want this person to be at this event. And then you kind of got to be like, well, do I exclude this person being at the event? How do I address this? There's a bunch of other things that kind of come into play. And that's also where I think that we can support a lot of these event producers by sharing codes. Ava Lene is one of these people who's been in the Boulder or in Denver doing ecstatic dances for 15 years. She's got so much wisdom of what it's like to hold this type of event space and what comes up and how to hold community, which she's done in an amazing way. And so, all about bringing all these different resources from different people and sharing them with each other. The term in evolutionary biology is horizontal gene transfer, and I don't want to go too deep into it because that's its own thing, but suffice it to say that, the species that share codes with each other most effectively are the ones that are most adaptable to change and surviving the environment that they're in. And I think that we're in an age where sharing with each other is going to be really important. So I want to be mindful of time. I think we're coming up
I
on the top
agree
of the
with
hour.
that. I agree with that. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And I just wanted to say Juicy has also been an incredible host for the Global Oneness Conference and a supporter of many different Humanities Team events. So if you're not a member of Humanities Team Plus, I would encourage you to get access to these his teachings and other spiritual teachers such as Bruce Lipton, Suzanne Giesman, Greg Braden. And I also wanted to thank the production team, Jim Gray, Garth Catterall, Dee Meyer, Andy Gutsky, Karen Watson, Nanette Kennedy, Abby Johnson, and the rest of Humanities team. So it's been such a pleasure connecting with you today, Juicy, and best of luck with your venture, Actualize. And everybody join.
Thank you.